Hello everyone and welcome back to another RTS episode. In this episode we're going to start work on our UI. Now this won't be the full finished UI, that'll be evolving over time, but what we're going to do today is set up the basics and get some information getting plugged into it, such as the wood that we've been collecting in the last episode. So to prepare for this, I have provided some icons that I have found online and just dropped into the resource folder. So we're using them just for educational resources. So if you do plan on making your own RTS, please do make your own icons. Okay, so let's get started and creating our HUD for this. So this would be a widget blueprint, and we'll call it heads up display. And the heads up display is going to be a container which contains the various elements towards our HUD. So I'm not going to do it all on just one thing, I'm going to do it in separate pieces. Now this allows me to add and change things on the fly a lot quicker, a lot easier later on throughout development. So we're going to close this for now and make a new one. And this one we're going to call HUD underscore, so we know it belongs to the HUD. And this will be the resource bar. And the resource bar we're going to open up and we're going to get rid of the canvas panel. Now the resource bar is going to be simply a horizontal box containing these pictures and numbers indicating how many buildings we have, how many units we have, how much wood and how much stone we have. So we're going to put that in the corner of the screen. So for this we're going to have a border and drop that into my hierarchy, and to change the background border for now to a dark color. We'll go to brush color here. I'll change it down here. We'll choose like a dark. We'll go for like a dark woody color like this. And we're going to go. So let's make that a bit paler. Actually, let's bring that down here. Lighter. Okay. And in there, we're going to have a horizontal box. Horizontal box. And the horizontal box will take its contents and stack it horizontally. So in here we're going to have an image and text 4 times. So let's drag out an image, text. Select both of these now, and I'm going to duplicate them by pushing Ctrl W. And expand this open so it makes it easier and quicker. There we go. There we are. So image, text, image, text, finally, fourth one, text. So this first one, we're going to change the icon. So we're going to go over to here and we're going to do building icon D. And I'm going to change the image size of this to be, let's say 64 by 64. Now, to demonstrate how much this is going to be on the screen, just go to fill screen here and change it to desired. There we are. The text next to it, we're going to change the color of it to black. And I'm going to change it so it is vertically centered. And then I'm going to change the text here to be called, we'll just do I don't know, 0, 0, for example. And then going to put in the next image. Oh, before we do that, actually, let's rename these things. So this text we're going to change here and put in here building count text. And tick is variable. And we'll do this for each text because they can be changing throughout the game. Images won't be, just the text. So we can leave the images alone. So next image, we're going to go in here, and this one will be people. So units, icon T. Again, we're going to change it to 64 by 64. And the text again centered 0 out of 0. And we're going to change it to black. Okay, next, got another image here, and this will be wood. 64 by 64. Text centered 0 out of 0. Make it black. And the final one is going to be the stone. 64 by 64. And this text here is going to be 0 out of 0. Centered in the vertical and black in the color. Okay, so I've gone through and named all my text variables, and so I ticked each variable and named each one. Now we're going to get this to display as we like. So I'm going to change it from desired to custom, and I'm going to set the width here to 800 will be fine. And I'm going to see if I can get this stretched out evenly across. Now what I want to do here is for each text, I want to go over to the right hand side and choose fill. This will tell it to fill the available space. You do it for each text field here, like so. Now you've got that even spacing. That's quite nice. Next, I'm going to add some padding around it. So I'm going to go to each text here and go to padding and give left padding 10. And finally, I'm going to go to the horizontal box and add a padding around this as well. So I'm just going to add a all round padding around each edge and do a padding of 20. Okay, so there is our final design. I'm going to hit compile and save that. Close this. Now eventually we will be replacing the background with a natural image, but for now this will be fine for us. I'm going to go to my heads-up display, and in here we're going to go down and search in our user created section for our HUD resource bar. Drag this into your canvas panel and you'll find it all squished up in the corner. So we're going to go click on it and click on the size to content. Okay, and you can see then what it's going to actually look like. Now what I do want to do though is I want to make it a little bit longer, so you got a nice spacing around here. Now if you notice, I can drag it but nothing will happen. That's because size to content is chosen here. So I need to customize that by just dragging it out and getting the look that I'm going after. So if I know that the height of each image is 64, the padding is 20, I know I can add these together and get 104. I'm going to change the size and the Y to 104. Now I know my images are square as they should be. Okay, so I want it anchored to the top left here because I'm going to place it in the top left. I'm just going to give it an extra positioning in the X here of another 50. Just to offset it there, and in the Y by another 50. Again to offset it a little bit in the corner. Okay, hit compile and save that. Let's get displaying in this game. So I'm going to go to my controller, RTS controller, and going to go to the begin play event. On begin play, we're going to go to the end here and create widget and plug that in. We're going to choose our new heads up display widget, and then we're going to promote this to a variable and call it heads up display. Now we have access to that heads up display, meaning that we can access and change various elements of it, such as the numbers that you see on the screen. So with that there, we're then going to add that to viewport, and then we can see what that looks like in game. Okay, and there is our counter. So as I said, we need to be able to communicate to this from the game to the counters. So let's go ahead and do that. So we've got wood currently working in there, so let's work with that one first of all. Now the wood is being tracked on the game mode. Now the game mode currently doesn't have the code for adding wood. That's all handled by the AI controller. We're going to change that on here. We'll make a new function on here and we'll call it add wood. And in here we're going to add a input, and this will be the number of wood we're adding, and make that a integer. And for this we're going to simply just drag out wood inventory, get plus int here plus the num that comes through here. Then I'm going to set wood inventory back. We're then going to go back to our units and go to our behavior tree, behavior task of find base location. And in here we've got the act of actually placing it back in the game mode. Now you can see here we've got this stuff going on here. What we're going to do is we're going to delete the set wood inventory, the get wood inventory, and the plus here. We're just going to get this and take that out. Then we're going to take from as RTS game mode and do add wood. And the wood we're adding is going to be the number of wood they're carrying. So I'm going to drag that and plug that in there. We're then going to hook that back up to the rest of the code. Now the benefit of having it as a function means that it's easier to bind it to other stuff going on. So we're going to go back to our game mode. And in here we're going to do an event dispatcher saying wood collected. And that wood collected is going to be called at the end of this add wood. Drag that out and do call. Meaning that anything that's been told to listen to it will now react to wood being collected. Speaking of which, let's go over to our heads up display. The heads up display is going to set up a binding with that call. So go to your graph, and on the event construct, we're going to get game mode, cast to your RTS game mode, plug that in, and from there we can now bind an event to wood collected. Now for wood collected, we need to collect that and tell it to say how much wood we have collected up. So let's go back to our RTS game mode, go to the call wood collected in the event dispatcher, and go to inputs at the top here. And we're going to say how much wood we have here. So go integer, and we'll say wood. And this is going to be the new parameter in here. Compile, and let's just refresh this. There we go. And hit that into there. Now, when we call wood, we're sending over how much wood we actually have, which is really useful. It saves us a lot of steps. So back on the heads up display, we now can refresh this by compiling it. And with our binding here, we're going to drag out from the event and do a custom event. And this is going to be update wood count. And the wood count is basically stored on this HUD resource bar. So we're going to drag that out to get, and then get wood count text. We are going to set text. And then we just drag the wood into the in text there. Hit compile and save that. Now as we collect wood, the UI should update with that text there. So let's go and have a look at that. Hit play, and let's place my building base, my workers, and a tree. They collect up. And then once the tree is dead, they'll take it back to the base. And we should see our wood count up here change. Now we've got 10 wood displaying in our HUD. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. And I can do the same over to these trees. And so on and so forth. Now this is exactly the same setup for the stone. So have a crack at it yourself. See if you can replicate this functionality for the stone. So setting up the bindings and so forth. And get to update the HUD widget. So in the next episode, we're going to start work on the attacking part of the game. After all, it's a real-time strategy game. You need a lot of attacking, so we need to make sure we get that right. So join us in the next episode over on patreon.com/Ryan Laley, where you can watch all of my videos before anyone else from just $1 a month. Big shout out and thank you to all my patrons and YouTube members for their continued support. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you all next time. Bye everyone.